Dr. Chuck the Science Schmuck.
Synchronize. Okay. Now, today I'm not doing a fun scientific demonstration, and by science I'm of course referring to schmuckery. It won't have, building a strange assembly out of trash or mixing random chemicals. It's just me talking. So if you find that boring, you might want to go away. Because I'm just talking and I'm still getting sticky. Oh well, I was born sticky, I'll die sticky. This video is about the science of advertising. Specifically YouTube advertising. Now, I am, I suppose technically, a YouTuber. Not really. It's not my primary job. I think to be a YouTuber, you have to be, full-time YouTuber. I'm a schmuck. I sit down here in the obscure crevices of YouTube, making these videos largely for my own amusement. I don't profit. I don't really have too much of a desire to profit. These are just for my own fun. I am, however, a big viewer of YouTube. I really like watching YouTube. And YouTube has a lot of ads. Didn't used to, now it has a lot more. But these ads annoy me to no end. Not just because of their presence. I understand that's how YouTube makes money. They're just so poorly structured. And let me preface this with, I am not an advertising major. I never studied advertising. I didn't do business. I majored in biochemistry, sort of. I mean, I didn't do great in college, but that was the major I went in with. So I'm kind of outside of my wheelhouse. But I got eyes, sort of. They don't see well. I actually can't even see the camera without my glasses. But I look at these ads, and I've got some criticisms, and I got a beef. I don't even normally eat meat. Not because I'm a vegetarian, just because meat is expensive, and it runs really fast. And I'm not great with a crossbow. But this is a rant about advertising, specifically the science of advertising. So what am I criticizing specifically when I see these YouTube ads? Oh, a lot. Primarily, they're not well structured. It's as if whoever made these ads was either not a professional advertiser, don't know how they got, I guess they just assigned the job to somebody in the company rather than actually hiring a firm, or they're like wannabe film directors who think they're making a movie. You're not making a movie, you're selling a product. The idea of selling a product is to sell the product. And they don't. So I often see an ad, or more likely hear an ad, because I'm not usually present, where there is so much lead up to the actual ad, and sometimes you never even get to it. Especially with YouTube ads being limited to 12 seconds, and you can skip unless you pay a ton of money, and then you can get those giant ads. So often I'm listening to audio-only channels. As dorky as it is, those Microsoft Sam Reddit videos, I like to listen to those when I'm doing dishes, or cleaning, or doing push-ups, because I have massive triceps, but no bicep, which is kind of weird looking, which is why I wear sleeves a lot. Regardless, I will be listening to an ad, and I hear it click into the ad, and I hear music. Boring, stupid, very unpleasant, royalty-free like techno. And then it's gone. I'm like, wait, where was the ad? That was the ad. For some reason, somebody assumed doesn't realize that YouTube is mostly audio. Like listening to music, listening to podcasts, scary stories. I am a big fan of scary stories, listening to those. Even this, you're probably not even looking at me because I'm not actually doing anything interesting, except gesticulating. So, with an ad, your audio is probably the most important part, right? Because somebody may not be looking at the screen, and they may not even be hearing. They may not even, if they're deaf, do deaf people, I'm sure deaf people watch YouTube, but they don't hear it, in which case having an ad state something would not be useful. But the average user should hear the ad. Often they're not present, they don't see the screen, and you shouldn't have a lead up like that. You shouldn't just go and go and go and go and go, because then, even if I'm interested, even if I get up to skip the ad, or I'm doing something else during the ad, and I look at it, I should ideally be able to figure out what you're advertising, but more often than not, I look at a few frames of this ad and I can't tell. You're neither utilizing the visual or the audio. I don't know what you're doing. Like, these ads don't make any sense. Like, you're paying a ton of money to put in an ad, and then you're wasting all of it without demonstrating anything. You're not actively trying to sell me anything. The point of an ad... Take a lesson from radio ads. I listen to the radio a lot. A lot of 99.1 PLR in Connecticut. Very good station. Well, the music is classic rock, and it's mostly like the same three Aerosmith songs every hour and a half for the duration of the day. But Chaz and AJ is a very good show in the morning, and you should totally listen to it if you get a chance. They have an app somewhere. Oh man, I like that show. But I listen to a lot of radio ads. And what I've learned from radio ads, I'm getting too excited. How I think a good ad should work is a lesson taken from radio. I never worked in radio, but I listen to the radio a lot. Radio ads are entirely audio and very short, and they're designed to be as effective as possible. And the lesson I have learned from this is these 4 aspects that your ad should display not at the end. This isn't a television commercial. Television commercials have, because in America, probably about 50% of a show is commercials. So they have a lot more lead up, and you can kind of visually stimulate the user a little bit. But if you want an effective ad, these 4 steps. 1, who are you? Tell me who you are. 2, what are you selling? Tell me what the actual product is. It does not help if the product is not stated immediately. I should be able to go into the ad knowing exactly what you are selling. 3, why should I choose your product? What does it do for me, and why is it better than competing products? And 4, where do I go to get it? So let's see if I can do a basic demonstration here. I'm Dr. Chuck the Science Schmuck, and I'm selling to you Schmuck Juice. This Schmuck Juice is superior over all other Schmuck Juice because it has 30% more schmuck. You can get it at the Schmuck store, any Schmuck store near you from any honest schmuck. There's the ad. I told you who I am, that's my brand. I'm Dr. Chuck the Science Schmuck. 2, I'm selling Schmuck Juice. 3, my Schmuck Juice is better than all other Schmuck Juices because there's more schmuck in my juice than in yours. 4, go to the Schmuck store. Now, obviously, there isn't actually a Schmuck store, and there isn't anything called Schmuck Juice that you know about. In fact, it's probably something you don't want to ever drink because it totally doesn't exist, and I haven't been manufacturing it on the other side of the camera in the other half of my basement. Oh, I'm sticky from all this Schmuck Juice. Regardless, this is how an ad is structured. You should state those things before you go into like techno music. It should not be visual only, showing me nothing except establishing shots, and it should not be without audio. Like, can you just like make an ad that states what you're selling? Because 99%, I'm dumb. I got a tiny, very smooth brain. I can't understand it unless you say it explicitly, like on a radio station. To be honest, although 95% of commercials, that's a made-up number, it's probably closer to 50%, are car commercials. Car commercials almost always do it the best. It's like, I'm Tom's Ford, come down to Tom's Ford, push, pull, trade, whatever you want. And, like, you get all the data out in the first sentence. I know which Ford dealership you are, I know where you are, I know what you're selling, it's Fords. But for some reason, advertisers on YouTube can't really figure this out. Now, of course, radio does have its own limitations, in that I do not understand this fad of advertainment, where every ad has to be full of jokes and humor instead of just stating it. And it's weird because the local ads you see are usually pretty straightforward. You know, they say those 4 things, and it's pretty obvious. It's like, it's a neat little ad. This guy just told me where to go to get a thing. Big company ads, like on the radio, it's a lot of insurance stuff. And insurance stuff is always, it has this weird focus where it has to be funny and make a joke, and that doesn't really work that great. That's kind of a fad of 5 years ago that's continuing on now, and it doesn't work very nicely because it's dumb and it's annoying. I think when they make ads in a professional sense, they do create a good ad that is funny the first time you listen to it. Every one of these ads is funny the first time you listen to it on the radio. A guy excessively pronouncing the word Zimbabwe is funny the first time you listen to it. But radios have a short circulation of ads. That's what you paid for, right? So I'm hearing this ad once every 15 minutes, and hearing a guy excessively pronouncing Zimbabwe is not funny on the 180th time. It is annoying, which is a big feature that I think you should recall when making an ad. Yes, it is potentially funny, but you never want to put unpleasant stimuli in an ad. Just don't do it. It attracts attention, but it produces a negative mental, because people buy based on emotion, not thought. It's not necessarily logical. It's, oh, I like that company. You do not want to associate your product with anything negative. So focus test these commercials by strapping some test subject into a room and playing the commercial 300 times and see how he feels about it when he comes out. If it gets annoying and doesn't pass the annoyance test, don't do it. Also, certain sounds should not be in an advertisement no matter what. You never want to create a negative association with your product. So babies crying is, I mean, babies obviously do that. It's entirely legitimate for babies to do it. You do not need to put that in your ad. Alarm clocks, a lot of car noise, nails screeching on a chalkboard. Yes, it gets the audience attention, but it builds a bad emotional connection, so don't do that. I mean, there may be science that says legitimately, oh, well, that's okay, you really just need to get them associated with your project. It's better to put a positive spin than a negative one. I think anybody can say that. Oh, I'm getting overexcited. The point being, like, for example, there is a commercial, I won't state which company because I don't want to get sued, but it's another insurance company, where they state something good about their company and then they have another super annoying voice say, but if you do this, then blah, blah, blah. Are you trying to convince me not to buy your product? Because I don't necessarily devote my full energy to an ad. I'm not trapped in a room, with this stuck on my face. I hear a tone and I hear, wait, somebody's trying to convince me not to buy your product? Why would you put that in an ad? That doesn't make sense. State why your product is good. I mean, that's why a insurance company with a gecko as a mascot worked very nicely. Because the gecko is highly recognizable. He has a calming, smooth voice. He has a nice accent, which I'm sure to other foreign countries sounds ridiculous, but to Americans he sounds very erudite. And he, does a little skit, which is fine. It's better to do a skit on like a television commercial because then there is a level of interaction with it and it is a little humorous. But you want to get that information out quickly. If I'm an insurance company, I say, I am Schmuck Insurance. I sell insurance for schmucks. I insure twice the number of schmucks as any other schmuck insurer. And you can buy my insurance at www. I'm not even going to give you that because you're going to type it in and you're going to be very surprised at what's at that website because I didn't buy that domain. I don't have the money because nobody bought my schmuck juice because it was poisonous and full of a lot of schmuck. So, that begs the question then, how do we improve advertising overall? On YouTube, but also as a whole. Negative criticism is all fun and good to give, but positive, constructive criticism is a lot more helpful. Ooh, why is the table wet? It's very, very damp down here. So, firstly, other than the points laid out before of how to construct an ad properly, brevity is usually appreciated. When an ad goes on for more than 30 seconds, you're pushing it. People don't want to sit through a long ad. Part of the reason why we've gotten to this advertainment model is because the idea is to get people to watch longer ads. But are the longer ads strictly necessary? Well, that's a question for people who actually have specialty in this subject, not me. I would say that I think we might be hitting the limit of this advertainment idea and moving on to a different period. The idea that ads should be funny and entertaining and do like a skit is nice, but it's burned itself out. Every single thing is trying to do that, and most do it poorly just because they're not funny. I think we are moving... I think there's a certain charm to advertisements that are run with a degree of sincerity. Sincerity as in, think of like traditional car commercials. They're all kind of grainy and poorly produced, but you got, not actors, but like the family that's selling cars, and like, come on down to Joe's Ford. And it's like, oh, as you can tell, I drive a Ford, so I rather like Fords. Well, you see like, come on down to our store or our pawn shop or whatever you want, and oh, that's nice. They're actually, conveying this message. On radio ads, when you hear the guy talking, as long as it's not annoying. Side example of that, being from Connecticut, Jill Merriam, dealer for the people. Again, not sure why anyone named their daughter Jillian Merriam, but she ran, I think, I don't know what cars they were, used cars. Years ago, they were Yeah, I think they're good used cars, but the commercials were terrible because her voice was just incredibly grating. And I've heard her talk on radio interviews. She doesn't have that voice for the ads. She just does this real, stultering, screamy voice to make you buy her cars. I'm like, ugh. Anytime she'd come on, I'd just be, I'd have to turn the radio off. Versus something like I think what really gets people is when you have a personality associated with that kind of human mascot. So Jill Marion was obviously recognizable. I recognize her 10 years later out of the ads, but something like a Crazy Eddie, this person, or Bob from Bob's Discount Furniture, even though he doesn't actually own the stores anymore. You recognize this person, you associate them with the brand. Jingles are nice too. Kind of old-fashioned, but people do remember them. And the number one thing I can think of is animation. So, animation is expensive, yes, but it works super well for being memorable. It's memorable, it's pleasing to look at, and it sticks in people's head because an animation, like a person, every person looks like a person. Usually. I got a bean head, so I don't quite look like a person, more so like a bean monster. But animation is very distinctive. Think of like the old Esurance commercials, Aaron Esurance. They were these like flash animated, something burning? Yes, but it's over there, so it's not my problem. These were these flash animated, little short, like almost Kim Possible-ish spy things with Aaron Esurance fighting insurance monsters. Pink-haired woman, very stylized. They were fun commercials and very memorable. I think that if you animate your characters in a commercial, people will stay and watch it even for a little bit longer. I mean, you could take... I think animation is so powerful in ads that you could take the absolute worst, low-quality product you can think of. Something that nobody would ever want to even look at. Something that's just absolutely atrocious. But if you slap a dancing cat girl on it, everyone's going to go buy it.
If you like science, then you're in luck. Just turn on the YouTube and watch this schmuck. You can like and subscribe, but he doesn't give up.
Huh. I think I sensed a YouTube ad right there. Oh well. Mostly, I just need to lower my blood pressure right now. So that's what I'm going to say, that in summary, I think the structure of ads on YouTube, I don't mind ads on YouTube, I understand their importance, but their structure is a pet peeve of mine in that they lack basic advertising ability and are poorly made. And there are ways that you can improve these ads substantially. So with that, I'm going to go figure out what is actually burning and probably stop it. Probably go watch some more ads because it seems to be 90% of what YouTube is made of these days, and probably complain about them to no one in particular, which basically is what I'm doing now. I'm in a basement that smells like moisture, radon, and burning, and I'm all alone. But that's fine. So with that, extra.